Good evening to one and all. We, the students of the Vinod Gupta School of Management, IIT Kharagpur, are extremely privileged to host Mr. Ashutosh Rai, Director of Pre-Sales and Solutions at Cloud and Infrastructure Services Unit at Wipro, for yet another edition of its online leadership talk series Vaakya. With more than 15 years of experience in various roles, Mr. Rai has a proven record in delivering cloud and IT infrastructure services for customers across multiple domains. Mr. Rai also has a rich expertise in IT infrastructure solution design, DC transformation, pursuit management, pre-sales, and team management that are integral to help drive organizational growth. We are excited to host him this evening and hope to learn more about the world of pre-sales. It is an honor to host you today, sir. Without any further delay, I would like to request our esteemed guest to kindly address the participants. Over to you, sir.
Not only that, we've been able to even pick up the processes which have broken down the most number of times. And this is how we want to restructure their entire environment. Now, that is something which would not have been possible a few years ago. So we built this model. Now what we are doing is every year before they hit the peak season, we are able to look at the hotspots predictively because we have a predictive model which says looks at all the nodes that they have in their environment, and it says, okay, this is an area which is vulnerable, and if the load goes up, this can disrupt the entire system. So we are able to take care of such issues proactively, right? Now I'm not a AI expert, right? I'm not an AI expert, but the way these things have worked is these models have evolved to a level where if you spend some time with these models, you are able to see abstract the core code part of it and what it delivers for the business, and you can focus on the how you want to tailor this code for solving the business problem, and the remaining code is there. You make some tweaks to it, and you go about delivering that for your customer, right? That's one example, and that's a large retailer for Australia, right? They've been with us for quite a few years now. uh, the other example is in the IoT area, right? So we work with the land transport authority in the Middle East region, with a government organization, where where they wanted a IoT system, and when I'm talking about IoT systems, this is like few years ago, and that time the IoT systems were not that evolved yet, right? They wanted to deploy a solution which can proactively look and monitor different parameters of the transport fleet that they have, right? And that is the core business that they have. Now there is no way at that point in time that you could monitor the and do diagnostics of the engine of the bus, right? I think they had some Mercedes buses or something like that, and that time it was difficult for them to, for the entire fleet, look at the diagnostics of all the engines and all the tire pressures and all the different parameters that are there. So we deployed these sensors in the buses, and then we built a solution with some partners also, whereby we are able to monitor and help the customer with all these analytics about the entire fleet. Not only that, with that analytics, they are able to do a lot of proactive. They are able to display a lot of this information at the bus stands. People standing over there can see which bus is coming, what kind of if that bus gets broken down, then automatically it informs the other buses in that route. So that kind of analytics we've been able to share with the customer, right? So that's been a very interesting project for us, right? uh, then and these are all these problems, the crux uh, of the entire solutioning or the entire uh, solution selling is, you have to look at the user. You have to look at the user journey, and you have to map it out, how the user is going to consume the service, what will enrich the experience for the user, right? And after that, you look at what technology do you need to put in together to solve users, to enrich the user's experience. You don't go with technology first and then look at the user journey. You look at the user journey, you create that user journey map, and then you see how do you think will be a seamless consumption of service for the users, and then you put all these different great technologies that we have into the jigsaw puzzle, and you deliver the solution for the customer, right? And I'm talking about all these things so that later on I want to connect it back to what we do in pre-sales, right? So I'm just trying to build the big picture, and from there we'll talk more about how do we put this, what do we do actually in pre-sales, right? So this is pretty much just few examples, 2 or 3 examples that I wanted to cite from all the plethora of things that are happening in just few of the industries that we've picked up over here, right? So you've got AI ops and analytics, all these buzzwords, right? But I'll not take time discussing the buzzwords, because I'm sure whenever you get into the business, you'll pick up all these terms, right? Uh, Now, how does all of this comes together, right? So it's not that these the for the customers, or a term that you hear quite often for new age organizations is born in the cloud, right? That's a term that we hear often. So for those companies, it's easy because they are setting up their environment for the first time when when they have access to all these technologies, right? So there is no legacy baggage that they are carrying. But many of the enterprise customers, right, they've been in business for decades. Now they want to reinvent themselves. So when I was talking about user journey, when I was talking about how do we help organizations modernize, this is pretty much a simple way, or a summary of how we go about doing it, right? There's a business in motion. There's organization that is doing business, that is reporting their profits to the market, right? And they have to be absolutely on their toes. They can't disrupt whatever is going on right now. But at the same time, there's a pressure on the CEO, the CXOs, to reimagine their business and see, okay, there's a disruption that's happening in my environment. In retail, e-commerce is coming, in electric cars are coming, 5G is coming, whatever, right? The supply chain is going to get disrupted because of new advent of delivery systems, things like that. And you have to build a business model where the business is able to transform and modernize the existing business processes and make sure that that's not disrupted, because if a disruption happens in an existing business, people lose their job, right? The people get fired for that. So it's a extremely critical transformation that organizations undergo, right? So I think this is pretty much a summary of what I wanted to talk about from a trends perspective, right? So the keywords that you've heard from me, right? I spoke about cloud, I spoke about 5G. I spoke about what we are doing in IoT field. I spoke about the analytics part. I spoke about the artificial intelligence and automation solutions that we use to build, and all these different components, and deliver insights for our customers, right? So all these things are happening, and we are capitalizing, and the companies that are relevant are the ones who are capitalizing on these technologies, and bringing meaningful businesses for their customers, right? So I'll take a pause over here, right? I'll see if there's any question, and then I'll spend some more time talking about pre-sales. Obviously, I can go on and on talking about pre-sales, but my intention was actually to give an overview of what we are seeing in the industry, and then pre-sales, and hear you guys more. What are the concerns that you guys have? What is it that what are the questions you guys have? That's where I wanted to spend more time on. So I'll take a pause. Is there anything that any one of you want to ask? I'll just go out of full screen and look at. Uday, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. So basically, the sessions we usually have the Q&A round towards the end. So
Okay.
that's the reason why students are have not posted the questions, but we'll still ask them to go on posting their questions on the fly itself.
Sorry. So, now about pre-sales, right? Uh, and one of you can respond to me. But is there anything that you guys have you guys taken any course or any discussion around pre-sales in your stint at the MBA college? How much are you guys aware about the role of a pre-sales consultant? Okay, so I think I'll assume that for now I'll assume that you guys have limited understanding. I see Aditi responding not much. Okay, cool. So and I'm assuming that there are companies that come to your campus and offer pre-sales role. So I think it is important for us to talk about what happens in a pre-sales role, right? And I'll talk about my experience. I'll talk about what we do in our job, and from there on we can take some questions. So see, the usual sales cycle is that you have a sales guy, uh, and before that, sorry, uh, one point that I wanted to bring to your notice is that I have been going to campuses for a few years now in Wipro for campus hiring, as well as for picking up interns for my team. And my general approach is that I I try to get the interns, work with them, and see how many of them are converting to a PPO, and then they come back and join my team, right? So there's a good amount of engagement that I try to build. So all the different colleges that I've been to, which is 4 or 5 different colleges, my experience was that the understanding of pre-sales was not there, right? People people just before the interview, they would look up the internet and they'll just give me some broken answers, which is uh, which is not bad. But I think if you know that there are roles that are going to come up in your campus for pre-sales, then why not just prepare for it a little bit more, right? So that's the reason why I chose this topic, right? So the way it works is you have your sales team. The sales team generally is divided into two teams, which is one is a hunting team, the other is a farming team, right? The hunting team goes about uh, acquiring new logos, right? So customers who are not customers of, let's say, Wipro currently. So there's a team of hunters, the sales guys, who go about making cold calls and doing customer meetings, and they get leads from these customers, right? So that is one channel of getting the leads. The second channel is there are advisors in the market, advisors like Gartner, Forrester, ISG, Pace Harmon, ENY, KPMG, Deloitte, all these different advisors who are in the advisory IT outsourcing advisory business. They do their own study, and for different services they create their own model, saying that these are the customers who are the leaders, these are the customers who are coming up new challenges, and these are the niche players in the market, etc., etc., right? They come up with their own model, and customers reach out to these advisors, right? And they ask the advisors to tell them which are the companies that they should work with to outsource their business, the IT work, right? That's the second track, and that's where a lot of business happens also, right? And then there's a farming, predominantly these are the two categories, and then there's a farming side where you have an existing account in which you are selling a service. Now the the intent is of all organizations to grow accounts into more meaningful business, to add more value to the customer. And if you're adding more value to the customer, obviously the customer would like to engage you in other areas also, so that obviously they can have one major player whom they can rely upon for X kind of services, right? And they usually have 2 or 3 major players. I'm talking about large Fortune 100 kind of organizations. They have usually 3 or 4 players for different kind of requirements that they have, right? So the sales guys go about doing this, picking up these opportunities, right? And once they have picked up the opportunities, and mind you, the sales guys, they specialize in relationship, right? And we work in the international market. So right now, I'm not talking about the India market, but international market, you have the sales guys locally in the geography. Let's say, for example, I support the US geography, so we'll have our sales guys over there. They'll go about creating these leads, qualifying these leads, and then they will call, let's say, they'll call somebody like me who leads pre-sales. They'll say, this is a requirement that we see in the at so and so customer. Will we be able to do something with for the requirement, and will we be able to make a meaningful proposition to this customer? Now, it's our job, the pre-sales guy's job, to look at the requirement, understand the requirement, and then design a solution which caters to the customer's requirement, solves the problem. And usually there are three or four kind of different problems that the customers have. The problem can be, my setup is pretty legacy. I want to modernize it, and I want to bring more speed to my IT organization. That can be one, right? Second is, my processes are pretty much dated. Every time that I want to make a change, I'm not able to make that change fast enough, so I'm not able to deliver new services to the customers quickly. Then obviously, cost is there's a cost pressure. All the CIOs every year, they are under cost pressure. The CEO usually asks for a cost reduction on a year-on-year basis because technology is evolving. You are becoming more efficient. So why don't you take out some more cost from your IT and probably invest in the business, right? So they want to, or maybe invest whatever cost you're taking from the operations. Why don't you invest that cost into your transformation projects so that you are able to modernize your IT, right? So there are different kinds of requirements that customers come up with. Now, it's our job to look at all these different requirements and say, okay, this is what we can do for this customer, right? And while we create a sketch of that solution, at the same time, with the plethora of experience that we have, I can take a look at any company's IT spend and do analysis of that and say whether they are in the range of their peers. Are they spending more on IT? Are they spending less on IT? On the different units that they're consuming on their end user side, are they spending more on the data center side? How is their spend? Network side, what are they doing? And then with all the data that we get, I'm able to tell, okay, you can tweak ABC things, and you can deploy these new solutions for the customer, and in a period of, let's say, 3 to 6 months or 6 to 9 months and whatever, right? Depending upon the customer size and complexity, we put together a journey of transformation journey for the customer, and then we build the commercial model, and we go back to the customer. And that is where, because these are large, multi-million kind of a deals. With many cases, it's even, many deals are upwards of $100 million also, right? So you need a strong team which is well versed in articulating all these differentiating propositions that you're putting in. So again, the pre-sales team comes into picture. So you travel to the customer's location. I mean, with the exception of COVID, right? Obviously, right now nobody's traveling, but you travel to customer's location. You make presentations. You defend your solution. You answer all the questions that the customer would be having. And once they feel that, okay, this is exactly what we were looking for, they go to the next stage, right? So you have a lead generation, lead qualification. Then you have a response where you create a response to the requirements. You build commercial models. Then you go for your solution presentations. You do your pitch on the solution, and then if everything goes well, then customers say, okay, looks like that 80-85% of my requirements are meeting, but I want to fine tune the remaining 10-15% of the activities, right? In which case they ask us to do a due diligence. Now, in that due diligence, we spend more time. Let's say it's a 2-week due diligence, so they will have multiple sites, multiple. One customer that we worked with, they had operations in Vietnam, they had operations in China, they had operations in Japan, they had operations in US, and they asked us to go to all these locations, go to their plants, understand all their environment in a manner so that we are able to give a proposition which is pretty much holds good for their entire landscape, right? So we did that, right? And once you are done with the due diligence, then it goes into the contracting phase. Now, in contracting phase, again, you sit with obviously with the right experience. You sit with your lawyers. Customer gets their lawyers, and then you discuss on all the nuances of the contracts, right? Obviously, you have your specialist lawyers also with you on some of the areas which are legal. But then you negotiate with the customer on different parameters, that this is something which is in the interest of the relationship. We should do agree to this. This is something which is something that I cannot give away. Okay, so there's a laundry list of things that you do as part of your negotiation. And once all that is done, then you close the deal, right? And there's no better feeling for a sales or a pre-sales guy than closing a pursuit which he's been working on for months, right? So you close your deal, you do your order booking, and then you engage the delivery team. And the delivery team are the people who are going to work with the customer on a continuous basis. They will deliver the solution that you have created. So you work with the delivery team, you do a knowledge sharing. Okay, this is the pain point of the customer, this is how we've designed the solution, this is how the solution has to be delivered, this is the journey we are going to take, this is how these are the different tools and platforms that we should deploy, this is has to be decommissioned, blah 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 blah, right? A lot of things and a lot of details that you deliver. And to make sure that you don't disappear, right? You don't close a deal and disappear. We keep some engagement on, so that there is a regular cadence with a delivery team on a regular basis till the time the account stabilizes, to make sure that any knowledge that we have gained over the course of the pursuit is not lost, right? Now, once you've closed a deal, then you move on to the next deal, right? So that's the life cycle of a typical pre-sales work, right? Now, within this, obviously, depending upon the kind of work that you're doing, you will get into the further specializations. Whether you are handling a banking customer, you are handling a retail customer, or like me, if you are working on let's say IT infrastructure, which cuts across all different domains. So you get to work with a banking customer. So I'll get to work with the largest of the banks globally. I'll get to work with them, understand their processes. I get to work with large oil and gas companies, the top four, top five oil and gas companies globally, right? So you get to understand their downstream business, you get to understand their upstream business, midstream business, how their supply chain is working, and what is critical for their supply chain, right? So in a way, you get exposure to all the different domains, and you build your knowledge. So that's the breadth from a domain perspective. Now, uh, within the technology area, we have technology specialists from different streams, right? And then you have a generalist like a solution architect, or who are solution architects and bid managers and consultants, who are generally the MBA hires, like you and I, who look at across all the technology aspects of a requirement solution, and see how is it mapping to the customer's requirement, and make sure that everything is articulated back to the customer in a manner that even the topmost CXOs can understand, right? So that is where the real differentiation comes in, right? Are you able to narrate a story which the customers are able to relate to, and they're able to? It's very easy to talk about the configurations and then get lost in the technicalities, but that's not where the differentiation lies. The differentiation is in harnessing the power of technology in solving customers' problem, and that's where the pre-sales guys come into picture, and then they work with the customers to solve all these the problems, right? And along with all of this, obviously, you build thought leadership material. You go out and do your sessions in different forums. You work. There are a lot of these large manufacturers of technology solutions, like the HPs of the world, the EMCs of the world, the Hitachis of the world, and so on and so forth, right? All these organizations, all these technology manufacturers who who want to engage with you and talk about all the cool stuff that they are doing, and see how you want to bring it back and then tie it into your solution, right? So those areas are also there. And then there are partners. There's a partner ecosystem with which you work with, right? So there are new age organizations coming up which are building all these cool solutions. Let's say somebody is specializing in chatbots, right? Now, when you work with a large organization, let's say, for example, when I work with the requirements that Wipro gets are not piecemeal requirements only. We get large transformation programs. Now, in that large transformation program, when you put the entire picture, you need everything. You need the technology, you need the AI solutions, all these different aspects. So you have to pick the best of the breed solution, and then you have to basically go ahead and deliver it for your customers. And that's where that's what pretty much a pre-sales consultant does, right? So I think uh, at a high level, that's what I wanted to cover. Um, I was planning for about 40 odd minutes. I think I've taken about 5 or 7 minutes more. So I'll take a pause. I think I'll let's take some questions if there are any. And if you guys have already been through some of this in the past, then absolutely fine. I mean, I'm really happy that talking to a set of students who at least have some awareness about these topics. So nothing. I think I'm good.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, sir. I just have a small question. So, on an average, how long do you work with a client to convert them?
Yeah,
How long
good
does it take?
question. Yeah, good question. See, Arvind, that was Arvind, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, Arvind, it varies. Usually, 3 to 4 months is a process, but I have worked on opportunities which have gone for like 18 months to 2 years also. So 18 months is actually my personal. That was the longest opportunity that I have worked on. Right.
Okay.
So, but usually the cycle is between 3 to 6 months. That's the cycle. And there are advisors in the market who are working with customers to close this entire cycle in the entire loop in 90 days also now. So 3 to 6 months is what you can consider.
Sir, and whenever a customer wants to renew the project, even then pre-sales gets involved in it, or
No, sorry, I didn't get the question.
so you said you will convert the client paid contract. So once the contract is about to get over, if the client wants to renew it, even at that time, pre-sales, the department will get involved in it.
Yeah, at that time also the pre-sales gets involved. But at that time, the delivery team, because they've been engaged with the customer for a long period of time, they play a vital role because they are able to give insights into how the customer's landscape has evolved and how the requirements have changed over a period of time. And we help them fine tune the solution and take it back to the customer. And it's not only at the end. As I was talking about farming, right? We go to the customers on a regular basis. We keep looking at their landscape and see if there's something which for which we have a better solution right now, right? For which we can take it back to them. So we keep doing that exercise on a regular basis, right? We keep having these meetings with the existing customers, right? It's very important to you have your existing customers happy because you win business. Most of the business actually you win on references, right? So all the new customers who want to work with you will always want to talk to some of your existing customers. So they'll say, give me references of 3 other customers where you've done something similar, right? So, so you have to make sure that you give the best service to your existing customers, and then obviously work with the new ones.
Okay, so thanks for the answer.
So we have a couple of questions in the chat box.
Yep.
So should we read the chat box? We have a few questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the.
Sir, we have a couple of questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Should I read it out to you or?
Yeah, we can do that. It'll be great, but I can see some of them. So one was, what would you like to suggest to for the student who wanted to pursue career in tech consulting but don't have background of computer science or IT, right? See, again, uh, I have hired people with arts background and they are freshers from MBA colleges. So I've done that also. But obviously, you need to work during your MBA time. You need to work on yourself, and you need to really demonstrate in your interviews why you are the right fit for that particular role. uh, I can share some do's and don'ts for your interviews. Never show up for your interview just with a 5 minute of cursory glance about the organization, right? Understand the role well, understand what that role is all about, do your homework, and then you go for an interview so that the interviewer feels that you are interested in that role and it's not an incidental meeting that you are having with that person, right? Because that company is there on in your campus that day. So do your homework during this phase, and then obviously prepare yourself. I think you'll get the opportunity. So that's my advice. Second is from Aditi. What are the starting roles in Wipro in pre-sales and the growth for the same? Okay, so I can talk about my journey. I joined Wipro as a bid manager, right? So bid manager is like a program manager for the new business that we are pursuing, right? So you project manage or program manage the entire requirement and the resources, which is like the number of different people who are working with you, and it's a large team that works on any requirements. It's 10, 15, 20 people, right? You project manage it and you do that, and then after that, some people, after doing this over a period of time and get a good understanding, and obviously you get customer exposure in that role also, because many times customers decide to come to India and do a site visits. So they want to look at all the different facilities that you have, they want to look at the capabilities that you have, and that time the bid managers play a critical role, right? One is during the response, the other is during visits. And the smart ones who are able to interface with the customer very well, they are able to build their careers in sales. So I had team members in my team who joined as a bid manager, and after that they chose to become to go into the sales role, right? So they are all over the globe right now. Then there are people who choose to become solution architect. So that is something which interests many people, right? So that's another. So you become a solution architect, you become a lead architect, and you work on these large complex deals, which are, some of the deals are like, you just have 4 or 5 deals like that in the market any given year, right? So the most senior guys work on those kind of opportunities. Then you can go into team management also. So for example, right now I'm leading the pre-sales for the entire geography, right? Then my boss is a vice president who heads globally the entire pre-sales, right? So from there on, go into a management role, right? So because you get to handle the P&L because you handle the commercials, right? The P&L, the profit and loss statement for all the solution that you work on. Generally, the guys get a good. The folks get good acumen, build their good acumen in financials, right? So that's a good area that you get honed yourself on, and then you can pick up a general management role and head of function within the organization. Or from there again, you can go and lead a sales for a region with some members in your team. And then there is one more track where people decide to deep dive into technology and see how technology is solving problems in different areas, and which is a field called distinguished member of technical staff, right? So we have a program called DMTS. So people get into DMTS, and then they are considered the experts in business technology, right? So these are some of the streams that people pick up and mold their career. What are primary skills needed in pre-sales, consulting, B2B and B2C separately considered? Yeah, see, we generally don't get into the B2C part. We are mostly into B2B, right? And skills. I would look for good communication skills, right? And you should have clarity of thought. What is it that you want to communicate, right? So you have to be sharp in your messaging, right? Because while you can work upon it, but I think the MBA tenure is the best time when you should work upon it. Anything that you have to present to people, if you can create 3 or 4 bullet points and then talk about it, I think that's great. So you need to have good communication skills. You need to have good problem solving skills. These two, I think, is a potent combination. And with these two, I think you can pretty much learn. Obviously, you can't specialize in anything and everything. So you focus on these two, keep yourself abreast on what's happening in the world outside. I think that's good enough to begin with. Uh, so Omkar has Aditi says thank you. You're welcome. Omkar says thank you for the insights, Ashutosh sir, in the new normal of digital and work from home. How would you say the pre-sales and sales role have evolved to keep the sales going? As this role is a lot about building relationships, how are these teams overcoming these challenges? Yeah, that's a very good question. See, uh, we keep using the word disruption, but you don't really uh, when it happens, you really see it, right? Eh, Everybody feels that it's important to be at the customer's premise and meet the customer, and only then you will be able to do your presentations and build your relationship. However, it is surprising that our virtual platforms have evolved so much, right, that we can collaborate with customers pretty much the same way as you would have done after taking a 18-hour flight to the US, right? So we are using the virtual platforms a lot. We use Microsoft Teams extensively within our organization, and our team is split across in the US and in India, right? And pretty much, I think we are doing good with the virtual world also. Uh, then there's a question from Vishal. In the bidding process, how does Wipro come up with the optimum bid amount compared to the competitors and make sure that you acquire the client successfully? What additional value you convey to the client other than the bid amount, which would differentiate you from the competitors? Again, a very good question. See, the advantage is that we have worked with so many customers till now, that for all the different aspects, I know one is obviously the grounds of model that you build, right? So every time, so there's a costing that you do of all the putting together all the different items that are required to deliver the service, right? You do that, and you do your cost plus model, and you arrive at the price point, the unit price point for each different things that you have to sell to the customer. And then you have benchmarks for similar services that we deliver for other customers globally. So after that, we talk to we look at what we are doing for other customers, and we have a database for that. We look up and see whether we have similar customers, and are we going to deliver the services in the same price points, right? And then there are price points that the advisors also publish, who work with multiple SI providers, right? So there are multiple ways and means that we check to see whether we are providing optimum pricing for the services that we are going to render to our customer. And it's a very competitive world, right? Nobody can charge a really big amount which is very high or different from what the market players are selling it for, right? It's the market. There are enough and more players in the market to ensure that to that normalization happens, right? Now, in terms of what additional value, see, customers ask for a particular service, and then we look at the customer's industry. We look at what kind of work do they do, and what would be a value add service that we have in our offering, which which we can bring to the table, right? So sometimes we say that while you have asked for this is something also we have, and this is and then we create different ways and mechanisms to for the customer to consume those value added services, and which is obviously very which is specific to the solutions that we create. So I'll not go into a lot of details about that, but there are ways and means that we create a vehicle for the customer to get exposure to the value-added services, for them to get a taste and the feel of it. And then if they see that this is something which is solving the problem, obviously we go ahead and roll it out at a scale. Now there's a question from Lakshmi. Says, as you mentioned, pre-sales team needs to visit various client locations to understand the business processes during COVID times. How are you managing that? What impact has it on creating solution models for companies in oil and gas or manufacturing? Yeah. See, oil and gas, not because of COVID, oil and gas, especially oil industry, because of the drop in the oil prices, is under a tremendous uh, uh, cost pressure, right? So right now we are seeing many of the players globally looking at partners who can come up and look at their entire landscape and see how they can help them take out cost. So that is something which we are seeing big time in the oil industry right now, right? How do we go to the customers' locations right now? Customer locations, we are not going right now. See, there are within the good part about IT is, and that's why you see, I don't know how many of you follow stock market, but if you see how the stocks have performed in the past few months, uh, there is relatively more resilience shown by the IT stocks as compared to the other stocks, because the model has evolved over a period of time, and uh, the the pandemic, while it has impacted, the companies have been smart enough to quickly enable work from home for almost 95-97% of our employees. I think in Wipro we have 93 or 95% of our employees working from home right now, right? So, and the company has enabled multiple things, right? So people have been given broadband, or augmented bandwidth, and things like that. So that's how people are delivering their services, and relatively, I think while there has been an impact, it's not that bad. Manufacturing, again, manufacturing has been hit hard. Manufacturing industry is has been impacted. So that is a bit of slowdown we see with manufacturing customers. I was talking to a oil one of the customers, which a conglomerate, but they had big operations in Canada and the oil area, in the oil sector. And when I asked them uh, about a certain prospect in the next month or so, he said, we are in a really bad situation right now, right? So I don't even know our organization in the same form will continue to exist, or we will do some major reorganization. So it is impacting, the impact is for real. uh, you have to be nimble enough to understand the pain point of the customer and see if there's anything that you can do to solve the problem, right? While the customer said that, but still there was something that they wanted to work on to take out their cost, and then we engage them, and right now we are working with them on something still, right? uh, Uday says, thank you, you're welcome. Can you please elaborate on some of the serious challenges that you faced in pre-sales, especially when having to deal with clients who might not be technically adept, and how to cope with such situations? Okay. uh, See, Uday, again, over here, there's nothing like too much of knowledge. I would suggest that the challenge can be that you are trying to sell something which you don't understand. That can be a challenge. If you understand what you are selling, or you understand your services very well, you are always placed at a advantage. You will be able to have conversation at the right level with the customer, right? You obviously, when you engage, when you talk to somebody, you will be able to, in 5 minutes, 7 minutes, you'll be able to gauge what is the kind of conversation, or what is the level of depth that you want to go with that customer, right? And then obviously you will be able to tailor your the depth of your conversation on technology accordingly with that customer, right? You have to be very receptive to the way the customers are talking to you, right? And accordingly you have to deal with that. One thing that in general I would suggest that we all have to be very agile in our learning process, right? Things change very rapidly, right? If so, you have to be very agile in picking up new things. so that is something which has been very helpful for all the successful folks that I see around me. People who are doing good are the ones who were good in communicating how they will solve customers' problem. Two, they were very good. Uh, they were able to well visualize how to apply a technology to solve a customer problem, right? So look at customer problem and see then what is it that's going to solve. So these two three skills are very important for you to basically bring to the table to succeed. Uh, Can you elaborate on the role partners and alliances play in designing solutions? What parameters are evaluated for selecting a partner for a project? See, we have multiple partners that we work with. So generally, it will not be just one partner. For example, we'll work with HP also, we'll work with Dell also, we'll work with Hitachi also, right? And we have set up our own labs where we work with these partners to create solutions, right? And then we test it out. And when the requirements come, depending upon our own analysis, what is fit for the customer, we go ahead and roll out that solution for the customer. So we have our own engineering team. This engineering team works with the partner teams to test out the solutions, and accordingly we take them to the market. Okay, I think I've covered almost everything. It'll be good for me to listen into some of you also. So if anybody has any more question, probably you can speak up, or you guys can tell me how's your course going. Maybe one of you can speak up a little bit. How are you guys managing your classes virtually? Maybe one of you can talk about it. I would love to listen into your experience. Maybe that will be my takeaway.
Hello, sir. So, towards the end of the last semester, we had a few online classes, post which the sem rounded up, and like we are yet to begin the new session, the new semester. So,
Okay.
most probably we'll be having it in September. We are looking forward to that.
Okay.
Our
And
external virtual classes have been pretty less until now.
okay, got it. But the plan would be to have virtual classes only, right? For the when the session resumes.
Yes, sir. Until the near future, most probably it will be like that, but no information has yet been received
Yeah.
as of now. So, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, sure enough. Uh, okay, I think if there are no more questions, I think I'm good. Was a pleasure talking to you guys. Yeah, if there's anything, I think we have got few more minutes. If there's something that you guys want to discuss, I've slotted my time for this. But otherwise, we can close the session as well.
I think the question part, I guess.
Uday, sorry, I missed you again. What is that?
No, sir. So I believe that the questions are these are the questions. I guess we are done with the questions part as well, sir.
Okay, good. My only advice would be that look at the companies that you guys are going to appear for, right? Prepare well for those companies in advance, right? Whatever role you want to get into, prepare for that. Do some homework now. I'm sure you'll have sufficient time, uh, and you guys will do good. I'm sure they'll anyways, once the college resumes, obviously, you guys will have your placement season, etc. But wish you guys all the best.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening session. Your insights on the changing dynamics of technology, the subtleties of the job, and how the companies are moving towards data-driven design and pre-sales strategies have certainly given us a better picture of the subject. Your views on the need to have a strong narrative ability, being able to closely knit the customer problems and solutions that you offer, and being agile in learning are invaluable advices that are sure to go a long way in our careers. It was a great opportunity to learn from your experiences, and we're extremely grateful to you for sparing your invaluable time to interact with us. We would also like to thank Mr. Sachin Bhatia for joining us for this session. We look forward to similar engagements in the future. We hope that this will be the start of a lasting relationship with you and your organization. And thank you once again for such an inspiring session.
Sure, you're welcome. Thank you guys. Thank you for hosting me. Wish you guys all the best. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye. Yeah. Bye bye.